If you're like most people, you may have experienced a salesperson who pursues you in that creepy, needy, desperate sort of a way, kind of like that guy from high school who liked you way more than you liked them. And so they text you nonstop and would find you. And you're like, if I'm just short with them, they'll go away. They'll get the picture. That's how most salespeople are looked at and treated, as a low status. That's lowering your status with someone. Now, what if you, as the salesperson who wants to sell your product and your service and do great things in the world and make a lot of money, what if I told you that you could actually raise your status as a salesperson and not be needy or desperate? Well, this is completely possible. It's just not what most people are trained to do or taught to do. You can actually be someone that people, when they see your name on their phone, they're like, oh, thankfully, they're calling me. I know that they can help me. They respect you. They admire you. That is totally what is possible. I want to tell you today how to build rapport. And rapport is like one of those textbook words that we use in like business and sales. In fact, I first heard this word when I was training to be a dietitian in my first career. And they would say, when you enter the patient's room, first build rapport. So it's always treated as this checkbox thing, which means like build the relationship, okay? And yeah, that's cool to be told that, but how do you actually go about it? Well, I want to tell you the beautiful thing about this concept and actually how to do it in some really practical ways in your sales calls. So first, what in the heck does rapport actually mean? Because it's not weird. People are just weird when they do it. So the definition is that it is a close and harmonious relationship in which the people concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and they communicate well. Okay, so I want to talk about first, harmony. How do you have a harmonious relationship with someone? Well, of course, in music, if you're in a choir, when someone brings up the tone or the pitch, and the rest of the choir can meet them, it sounds like this beautiful, cohesive sound that everyone is just so satisfying to listen to. Similar in a sales conversation, if someone were to bring down the tone with like an objection, you as the salesperson can meet them where they are and bring the pitch to a place that sounds very great for all parties involved. They're like, oh, I love that. That makes sense to me. That is what's possible with a harmonious relationship. It's not that you stay down there with an objection and you're not like, oh, I know it's so hard. It's just terrible. And you bring the vibe down. No, you meet them and you bring harmony to the situation. It's balanced, it's cohesive, and it's wonderful, and everybody's happy. The second thing that the definition says is that they understand each other. So what does it mean to understand somebody? Because everybody on planet Earth wants to be understood, but few people know how to actually understand. So one of the definitions of understand is that it's to perceive the intent. So to wrap your mind around, what do they mean by that? What are they actually saying to me? If someone says that they make absolutely no money, that their Instagram engagement has plummeted and they're just spewing drama, you can actually see through it and see, what do you mean when you say all this? What are you trying to explain to me? Another way that it is defined as to perceive the significance of something. So why is this important to them? Very few people, most salespeople are so wrapped up in making the sale that they think that even getting into someone else's brain is going to like mess them up. They don't even know how to do it. But if you can perceive why something is important to them, say it's Instagram engagement or the pictures that they get taken for their brand shoot, why is it important to them? When you understand why it's important, that's how you will sell to them in the future. You'll actually frame their motives and what's important to them as the reason that they should buy if it happens to match up. And it likely will, but first you have to understand their intent. Everybody on planet Earth wants to be understood. They want people to see their perspective. And when you do that, you'll actually be able to show them a better way. So here's what I want to do. I want to share with you a few shifts that you can make today, specifically 4. One shift is going to be before you get on the sales call. 3 of them are going to be during sales calls. I'm telling you, watch this call or watch this video every time you're about to get on a sales call to remind you what is going to happen. It's going to change your life. So first, the first shift you want to make is before you get on the sales call. Now, what most people do is because they're a little bit nervous, what they do is hype themselves up. They hype themselves up and they get really excited. They get excited about the product. They get excited about the person. Excited. Excitement is high energy. And listen, being high energy is important. You want to be attractive and all that great stuff. The problem is that someone who is entering into a call excited can really lack the soft skill of reading the room. What I want you to do rather than be excited is to be enthusiastic. What does enthusiasm mean? Enthusiasm means intense interest. Intense interest. Like you are so fascinated by their problem, by their future, by their dreams. You're so intensely interested in them. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a calm, confident conviction around the situation rather than this like golden retriever energy that doesn't read the room. And here's the thing. When you're on a sales call, the reason that they're talking to you is because they have a problem. And so if you come in this high energy, like, oh, it's all good, it's all good, it's all fine. They're like, you don't get it. You don't understand me. So that's why you're going to have enthusiasm, which is intense interest that meets them where they are, that shows understanding, and then you're going to be able to go from there. Okay, so enter into it thinking, I am so interested in them. This is going to be amazing. I promise you that alone is going to get you off on the right foot. Now, let me share with you what's going to happen once you're on the call. Okay, 3 things. The first shift I want you to make is to go from sharing your experience to hearing their experience. Okay, from sharing your experience to hearing their experience. Now, sharing your experience, people want to come off legit, right? And so they might talk about how they got here, how much money they make. You think about a doctor who has like Harvard on their wall. Imagine that you go in to have a treatment for something that you're really scared about, maybe cancer, right? And you're with your parent or something. And they're like, okay, I understand that. I know you have a problem. Let me just show you. I did go to Harvard. So like, don't worry about it. You would never want that, right? Sharing your experience is actually not what they want at all. So when you focus on hearing their experience, you start to gather all that information, all that history of where they've been. What have they gone through? What have they tried? Where do you want to go? You hear everything from them. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden you have this wealth of context. I want you to really hold on to that word, context, for how your product could work for them in the future. And the person who is listening is the one who's in control, not the person talking anyway. So focus on hearing their experience, not sharing your experience, and you're in for so much easier of a time. Okay. Next shift I want you to make is to go from being sympathetic to empathetic. Now, what does sympathy mean in the context of a sales call? Well, like I said, people are going to come in with problems. Yeah. And so if they're coming in with problems, then not only is there possibly their business or their body, their health, it's not where they want it to be. And so what can be really easy to do is to sympathize with them and come off very apologetic. And that apologetic tone could be like, yeah, I know the economy is like really hard. And I know this is kind of expensive because of inflation, or gosh, I know like the healthcare system's like totally against all of us. And you just kind of like wallow in the pool with them. And again, it's apologetic. Like, I know like this just sucks, right? What empathy does is it doesn't apologize, but it acknowledges. Okay, it doesn't apologize, it acknowledges. So the way that this would sound is more like, I understand where you're coming from. I see where you've been, and I just want you to know that I acknowledge that. That is the tone of someone who has empathy, and you're like, I see you. That's really important that you told me that, and I'm really thankful that you told me that. Sometimes you don't even have to say a word, and you just show them that you're listening. Like you have that intense interest without saying anything, right? And you're just kind of nodding along, and you're showing them like, yeah, I'm listening. Like keep talking. You're allowing them to unload and listen. There's a whole different topic for when people treat a sales call like a therapy session, and that's not what this is. This is about you staying in control to where when you get the information you need, you can actually get it back on track. I just want to show you right now how to have empathy, not sympathy. Okay, that doesn't mean this is therapy. You're just showing understanding by saying, I totally understand. In fact, if someone does go down a rabbit trail of all the bad things that have happened to them, and you're like, wow, like, goodness, that's when you can actually stop and say, look, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I just want to acknowledge that you have been in a place that most people couldn't handle and you handled it. Okay, so that's where you can, and then you can start to tell them maybe how the product will fit, or you can ask them another question. But that could be a video for a different day. The last thing I want you to think about while you're on these calls is how to shift from being impressive to being impressed by them. Okay, again, it can come off sometimes because maybe you've helped a lot of people. Maybe you've helped people lose weight, or maybe you're an amazing photographer and you want to like demonstrate that you've done a really good job. And we can get really preoccupied with proving ourselves as salespeople that it overwhelms the situation is not what needs to happen. What actually is really impactful on a call is to be more impressed by them and to give them compliments and to say, it is really amazing that you have lost 20 pounds so far. I totally understand that you're frustrated by being at this plateau, but you should be really proud of yourself for how far you've come. Now, let's talk about where you can go from here. Let me tell you actually about my client, Jenna, who was where you were just a couple months ago and has broken that plateau and had some really amazing results. So not only do you show that empathy and understanding, but you also demonstrate your credibility by talking about one of your clients, not about yourself. So I hope that this is helpful. And I hope that those few shifts of going from sympathy to empathy and from trying to be impressive to being impressed by them, all of these things, and hopefully especially going from being excited to being intensely interested and enthusiastic for them is going to absolutely change your calls. Because remember, we're not normal salespeople. We are sales girls. So go absolutely knock your next sales call out of the park. Share this video with a friend, and I'll see you on the next one.